Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Small Biz Mama, episode 17. Help, I'm drowning in debt. Oh yes, that was us back in 2007. So first off, the reason I'm talking about this, we got a question from one of our listeners. And she wrote, "Your story is so inspiring. I would love any resources to help get out of debt. I'm currently unemployed and my husband and I are drowning in debt with no plan to pay it off." So I thought this would make a great podcast episode because I know a lot of people are struggling with this right now because COVID. And, it's unfortunate, but it typically takes some sort of catastrophe um, before we really look at the problem that we're having. And that's what happened with us, right? So in 2006, I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was we almost lost our house. I mean, it was devastating. Um, and so it really made me think about what we were doing financially when everything was said and done with chemo and with cancer. We were um, we had over $200,000 in debt, and that didn't include our mortgage. That was home equity lines, student loans, credit cards. I think there might have been a car in there. I'm not sure if we'd had our cars paid off by that point. But it was a lot. It was a lot. And so I kind of sat down. I'm like, listen, if something happens to me, like, I don't even know what Jeff's going to do. Because most of this debt was, in our joint names. We had a house. And so if something would have happened to me, he would have been forced to sell the house to use any equity we had, which I don't even think at that point we had any equity because the housing market was crashing. And so we were upside down in our house. And it was fun. I mean, it was like, we're just sitting there and like, we had no idea what we were going to do. But I knew that we could not keep going the way that we were going, right? That was just not going to work. So, I mean, really, okay, if you think about it, there are, unless you're going to declare bankruptcy, which I know people who have done it, we consider doing it. It's not a great feeling, okay? And there are certain types of debts that are not going to go away if you declare bankruptcy. So tax debt will not go away, student loan debt will not go away, and that was a pretty significant chunk of what we had. We also had a home equity line, which the only way that was going to go away is if we sold our house. And we really like our house. So we decided, like, okay, we have to buckle down and figure out how we're going to pay this off. And, I know that there are all these programs out there that talk about debt forgiveness and whatnot, and a lot of those are just their crap, okay? They charge you a ton of fees, and essentially all they're really going to do is they're going to try to save up some money that you're paying them in payments to make an offer to your credit card companies. If your credit card company says no, you've just trashed your credit. It's not a good solution, okay? A lot of times what those companies do is they literally, like, they have you make one payment to them and they distribute that money out to everybody else. And you can do that yourself, right, without paying all their fees. So really, okay, if you've committed, and I totally appreciate this person that wrote this in, because it takes a lot of courage when you are in that position. It takes a lot of courage to go, you know what, I need help. We have to clean up our mess. And so that's the first step, right? Is acknowledging, like, you have a problem and we need to fix it. Okay. So the way that you start, okay, and this is a two-prong approach, because I think you have to do both. Okay. What we did in our house, so we followed Dave Ramsey, and I know Dave Ramsey's not for everybody. but I want to talk about some basic things that we did that I think that most people are not willing to do when they're trying to pay off their debt. So we looked at it like football. Okay, I'm a big football fan, being from New England. Um, we're yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm from New England. I'm a football fan. um, so we kind of looked at it as football, right? You have to have a really good offense and a really good defense. Okay. And so and both parties, right? If you're married, you have to do this together. If one of you is on board to do it and the other one isn't, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay. Because you won't be able to dig yourself out faster than your spouse can put you back in. Okay. And so luckily, like Jeff and I, we were totally on board. This is what we were going to do. Jeff's naturally cheap anyways. He really is. If anything costs more than 22 cents, that's kind of the joke around here. It's too expensive, which is, yeah, that's the joke around here. So this is why we call this Confessions of a Small Biz Mama, because you get all the behind the scenes of what's going on in our life and our business. So, so what does that mean to play offense and defense? So let's start with defense, right? So for us, defense meant keeping the money in the house, right? Keeping it in our household so that we could use it to pay off debts. Okay. And we can talk later about like the mechanics of doing, paying off debt and stuff like that. But you have to know how much it costs to run your house. And most people don't. Money just flows out of our hands. Okay. You have to know how much it costs you to run your home. And you've got to put some limits on some things. And I'm not saying, Dave Ramsey's like rice and beans and rice, blah, blah, blah. And we did that. But we were so broke, that's all we could afford at that point. So we totally did that. And so you have to know, you got to sit down and look at your bills. And when you do that, you're probably going to go like, wow, we have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and cable. Do we really need all this stuff? Okay. And so it's really, really good to go through and do this review and say, okay, is there anything that we have duplicate of? Is there anything where we're paying for? I mean, I know like a lot of us, we get car insurance and homeowners insurance and then we never think about it again. We typically requote ours about every 2 years. Or if I notice that the policy jumps more than like 10%, okay, that's usually my key that we need to requote that. So, when you're going through all of your bills, write down like how much is our mortgage or our rent? How much are we paying for utilities? One thing I don't recommend, and I know a lot of people do, I don't recommend that you go on the even payment plan with your utility companies. Okay. Especially if you live in somewhere like New England. Okay. Or you live anywhere where you've got a cold winter and hot summer. The reason I don't recommend that you do that is because you're going to have times in the spring and times in the fall where you're going to have really, really low energy bills. You're not using the heat. You haven't turned on the air conditioning yet. And so you have really low energy bills. Those are great months to pay off debt. Okay. Because you use all that extra money and throw it at your debt. Whereas if you have the equal payment plans, you never have that. And then what happens for a lot of people is that at the end of that payment plan, they've used more energy than they thought. And they owe a huge amount of money. Okay. And I don't want you to have to do that. So pay what you actually owe on your utilities. So write everything down. And then if you don't know how much you spend on food, Okay. What I would do is I would set a budget for food, and this may not work during COVID. Like, this wouldn't work for us right now. But what you could do is you could open up a second checking account and put the grocery money into a second checking account and then spend out of that account. And when that account is out of money, you're done with groceries. You got to figure out what to do for the rest of the month. That's kind of the electronic way of doing the envelope system, which that never really worked for us because first of all, I don't like carrying that much cash on me. I just don't. I never have. But second of all, for me, like, we do a lot of online shopping. Like, right now, the envelope system would not work for me because we're not going to stores, right? Everything that we get is delivered. So a good way to do that, though, is to kind of, you can set a budget, or depending on who your bank is, like, some banks have like budgeting software actually built in to the bank. Okay. And so that's another way too. But you've got to play defense. Okay. So you've got to say, what can we cut out? What can we cut back? But you can't do that unless you know what you're spending. Okay. So it's critically important. I don't care if you put it in Excel, you can write down on a piece of paper. I don't really care. You just got to do it. Okay. And simplify. So if you're drowning in credit card debt, stop using credit cards. Okay. At some point, you've got to say that this is all we have to live on. We have to make this work with the cash that's coming in. Okay. That brings me to the next point, right? Offense. He was like, how did you pay off so much debt so fast? We did every odd job that we could find. I installed printers for people. Okay. I did a lot of bookkeeping work. I did a lot of extra tax work. I did a lot of consulting work. I taught people how to run their businesses. Like I said, I did a lot of tech stuff. You don't know how to use your email? I'll show you how to use your email. Jeff was doing tech stuff. Jeff was building websites for people. Jeff was helping people do tech support, like whatever we could find. Now we had skills that we could use to make money. Okay. But I'll tell you, I was ready to go back to waitressing. I don't care that I'm a CPA. I don't care. Okay. I was ready to mow lawns. I was ready to deliver pizzas. I was ready to wait tables. If the work that I was doing dried up, then I was going on to the next thing, because I had a goal of how much money I had to bring in every single month, and I don't care how I did it. Legally. It had to be legal. I will say that. Okay. I'll put that caveat on there. I think a lot of times the issue that we run into when we want to pay off our debt is we say, well, I'm not willing to do X, right? I'm not willing to wait tables. I'm not willing to work on the weekends. I'm not willing to, not have cable. I'm not willing to sell stuff that we don't use. Something has to change if you're going to clean up this mess, right? Because what you're doing right now is not working. And if you just keep doing what you're doing, nothing is going to change. You have to change something, right? So you got to change up your defense. You got to change up your offense, right? That is how the Patriots came back from a 28-3 deficit in the Super Bowl, right? They changed everything up. They're like, okay, this is not working. Clearly, this is not working. And they won the Super Bowl, right? If you want to win this game, something has got to change, okay? And that's how we did it. And I'll tell you that we're still relatively frugal, okay? My car is 8 years old. Jeff's car is 7 years old. Could we buy new cars tomorrow? Yeah, I could buy a new car tomorrow. But I don't really see the point, especially right now, right? Because we're not driving anywhere. But when I wanted my Cricut machine, which is really funny because I waited like 6 months to buy my Cricut machine, even though I really, really wanted one. And I did a lot of research and I watched all the videos. And finally, Jeff was like, for Christ's sake, will you just buy the damn machine? Just get it. Okay, please, just buy the machine. And it was like on super sale. So I bought it. It is amazing. Like I cannot tell you how amazing it feels to not have to worry about money. Because even if, I will tell you, okay, so even if all of our current sources of income dried up, Jeff and I could go work at Walmart or go do tech support somewhere, or I could do taxes for H&R Block or whatever and be able to pay our bills. That's pretty awesome, right? That's pretty amazing. And I think that, and that's because we paid off all our debt, right? So really, we have our mortgage, we have our living expenses. That is it. That is it. And we built up savings, so now we have a nice savings account. Like, I can't tell you how much better. Like, if you are drowning in a lot of debt right now, and I know how that feels, I've been there before. And think about how that feels. What if that was gone? What if that was gone? I'll tell you, it is amazing. And I know it seems like it's impossible, but it's not forever. Because here's the thing, if you don't clean up your mess, you are going to feel like that forever. Or you can feel pain because you can't buy everything that you want when you want it, or you might have to work some extra hours for a job that you might not be thrilled about for, I don't know, maybe a couple years, and then it's over. Or you could, clean up your mess for a couple years and then never feel that way again. That's pretty awesome. It really is. So I hope that this helped inspire you a little bit. If you want more specifics on how to get started, how to get going, if that's something you want me to talk more about, go to askkristen.net, and that's Kristen with 2 I's, Kristin, or leave a comment on the Small Biz Mama website, smallbizmama.com, and we can do more on this, okay? But submit your questions. I'd love to help you with this. Actually, I wrote a blog called Payment Free Life. It's still up online. You can go check that out as well. But yeah, I would love to, I'd love to help you navigate this. So if this was helpful for you, please hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching, and tell people about the podcast. That really helps us grow. If you know people that, need to get out of debt, and, you can't really have that talk with people, but you could share this on your Facebook, or share this on your Twitter, or share this wherever you social. Okay. Because who knows, some people might pick it up and listen to it, and you could help change somebody else's life. So that's pretty amazing. All right, mamas, thank you so much for listening. Love you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Small Biz Mama with Kristen Ingram. If you'd like to learn how to create more margin in your life, please visit us at smallbizmama.com. That's smallbizmama.com.